Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the four-card fights for UFC Fight Night, Blachowicz versus Rakic. So without further ado, let's get to the first fight on the card that I'll be predicting. Well, the first card on the fight, I'm predicting all the fights, but yeah. So in our first fight, we have in the middleweight division, Nick Maximoff versus Andrea Petrovsky. And how I see this one right here is I like Maximoff a lot more in this one for much better competition. Petrovsky literally got fed to literally bottom of the barrel competition. No insult to Michael Gilmore, but the guy's grappling and wrestling defense needs a whole lot of work. He's easy money for anyone with the skills to put it on the ground and or at least somewhat skills to mix it to the ground. You don't even need to be a great wrestler or grappler to take advantage of Gilmore on the ground. So definitely weak in that area. It's a very weak area. And his offense on the feet is not that great. So that's not really a good win. But hey, a win is a win in the UFC. Better say 2-0 against nobody than to be like 0-2 versus studs, because they're gonna look at it the same regardless. But anyway, Maximoff versus Petrovsky. I know Petrovsky has a fading issue. I don't like that level of competition that he has beat. Don't like that. Yeah, so a couple things I don't like on Petrovsky's side. Maximoff's undefeated, like that. Good conditioning, I like that. Had a little bit of success at heavyweight in that one fight he did. It was over a bum, like that. Fact that he fought at least two decent guys. Well, Brundage, you can't really say too much about it, but I know Brundage is definitely a big, strong wrestler, and he was able to out wrestle him, like dominate him in the wrestling and the grappling department. Punali Soriano, solid wrestling background, guy that actually has had some decent success inside the UFC, and is one of the brighter prospects still in this division. And he went out there and got like 8 takedowns on him. So the guy's been getting takedowns over actual solid wrestlers and solid fighters, whereas Petrovsky's been doing work on uncredible competitions. All I'm saying. So. And Maximov's last two fights have been guys, like I said, with wrestling backgrounds, and he's been able to get solid takedowns on them. Whether Petrovsky is better than him or not, I would not really say that. I say Punali Soriano has the track record, because I would say Punali Soriano is without a doubt better than Petrovsky, so that's a step down to me, to be honest. Brundage, success rate, it was accomplishment. I would say, I don't know, Petrovsky better than him. But anyway, out of the MMA math, I like the fact that Maximoff has been in a similar spot in his last two fights, similar spots. Going there with these wrestlers, guys with solid wrestling backgrounds, and he's been able to out wrestle them, out grapple them, and beat them. And I like the fact that he can push that pace for 3 rounds, and Petrovsky can't. So I feel like I like him all 3 rounds, but in a tight matchup, or a matchup that should potentially be tight, I like the guy that can thrive better when the going gets tough, and that's going to be Maximoff. I feel like Petrovsky is a favorite, especially when he's not fighting cans. That cardio going to look just as bad as it always has looked. If the fight gets late or goes deeper, because he's not fighting these cans no more. Against cans, it don't really matter. But against solid competition, that's going to factor. Maximoff is the best guy by far he has faced. So I still see Maximoff out wrestling, out grappling him, just out position, out fighting him, and then taking him late, and then just start to take the fight away from him, start getting easy takedowns, and then start to smother him as he gets tired, and he gets up, gets put him right back on the mat, just literally just out grinds him to a decision. So in this fight, I got Nick Maximoff via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the flyweight division, Carlos Candelario versus Tosuro Tyra. And I see one right here. I know I'm talking like a million words per minute, so I'm about to slow it down. Got to be conscious about that. People be complaining. Some people not. Well, most people not, but yeah. Got to be mindful. Constructive criticism, use it, get better. So Candelario versus Tyra, how I see this one is, I think Candelario was all right, but I'm not impressed with his Contender Series fights at all, especially when he fought Alto Moreno, gave like 5-6 takedowns against Alto Moreno, who's not a great fighter or not a great wrestler either, offensively or defensively, so that's not a good look for him. So striking, I feel like Tyra is the better striker, definitely the more effective striker, definitely more dangerous striker. Grappling, I feel like Tyra is the more dangerous grappler. Wrestling, Candelario, best chance to maybe try to pull a wool over the rabbit's eyes or something and try to grapple him. I'm not liking his takedown defense. I'm not really liking nothing from Candelario. I feel like he's an all right kid, all right fighter, but I just don't think he's UFC caliber. I feel like Tyra should beat him literally everywhere. Beat him IQ-wise, beat him pace, and also questionable. Like, well, Alto Moreno puts up a high pace. Not a great fighter at all. Not a skilled fighter at all. I would not put Alto Moreno. I would laugh if somebody said that's a skilled fighter. He's not a skilled fighter. Neither is Candelario, to be honest. They got some decent technique. They train. They do other stuff, but they're not far from skilled or super technical fighters. Very low caliber at his given state, but I guess still young enough to make those changes and then update and and make improvements. But right now, not liking them. Feel like they belong in the UFC. Tosuro Tyra, I just feel like much sharper, packs much more power, and he's just far more effective, and also can go later rounds and maintain that space, whereas Candelario can't. But I just feel like Tyra is going to tag him with something early and have Candelario kind of gun shy, have him a little bit timid out there, have him reaching for ugly shots and getting sprawled on, hit with shots, threatening with some submissions, and just look out of sorts and trying to force action, just looking lost out there. Then eventually I see Tyra put him away in that second round via TKO. So in this fight, I got Tosuro Tyra via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, strawweight division, women's strawweight division, Verna Jandiroba versus Angela Hill. And how I see this fight right here between Jandiroba versus Hill is, with this one, definitely a very tight matchup. And gonna lean Hill here, but it sounds ridiculous in a way because the judges don't like to give Hill decisions. So a fight you feel like is a very tight matchup, semi-high profile matchup, even though it's so low on the card. And Hill typically loses all these type of matches in close decisions, like is of late. It's very likely like that the judge is going to favor Jandiroba, and like you can't really trust Hill to win a decision, or a fight that's likely going to go to a decision. You can't really trust Hill to finish, and you can't trust her in a big fight or a semi-big fight because the judges, for that reason, are biased against her. So in a tight matchup, they're going to lean the other way. So yeah, it's not smart to pick Hill, but I just got to pick Hill. I just feel like I like her more in this matchup, and I feel like actual judging she should win, but we'll see. Maybe she even gets stopped. Because Jandiroba, she could get it to the mat and like actually establish some control, or even a little split second of control. Jandiroba could snap on the submission that quick, and the fight could be over. Like Jandiroba is very skilled. My issue with Jandiroba, and why ultimately am leaning to Hill, is the fact that Jandiroba herself has admitted that she lacks that killing edge, and she's trying to focus on having that killing edge. And even said like, oh, that's in the past now. And still in her last fight, she literally had a man that like Heba's dead to rights, dropping her, hurting her, and still couldn't stick the knife in the carcass. She couldn't finish off the kill over Reba's. Like allow Reba just to win by sloppy volume. Same way she did with Mackenzie Dern. I mean, she didn't hurt Mackenzie Dern that bad as far as like actually hurting her, like dropping her, but she did break her nose, did bust her up, and then took her foot off the gas and allow Mackenzie Dern to win with sloppy offensive activity striking. Like no effectiveness, just throwing punches, throwing sloppy, ugly, weak punches. Reba, same thing, sloppy, ugly, weak punches, winning on volume without effectiveness. And I feel like Hill is a much more polished striker than either of those women, but obviously not as good of a grappler, but her takedown offense is improving. I see it's a very tight match. I think Jandiroba will get a couple takedowns. I think Hill will show some improvements in her submission game or submission defense, her grappling improvements that she has been showing continually in this stage of her career. And I think it'll be a tight matchup, but I think what I was getting to my point is I feel like Hill will do more in that later round. Like Hill has an issue of not, being active enough if she needs to maybe really secure these victories. Even though I feel like she still should have won some of these fights, but she didn't do enough to seal the victory. That's why another reason why I was left on the table for the judges to make bad decisions. But Hill at least has some activity. I feel like Jandiroba is like completely goes into autopilot. Like not autopilot. She goes into cruise control. She literally goes into cruise control. Hill actually still be trying to engage. She might let go of some of her defense. Might give up a takedown at times when Hill getting aggressive trying to make something happen, or she might let herself get caught with a couple shots because she's trying to make something happen. But Jandiroba literally just stays like this, goes from like dawn. Her averages dropped like almost in half. Like she just so low activity, and I feel like Hill will take advantage of that and be an outpointer and beat her to a decision in the crucial round, like the crucial third round. So in this fight, I got Angela Hill via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, Michael Johnson versus Alan Patrick. And how I see one right here is I really wanted to lean Alan Patrick. Just not really, I didn't want to lean, but I was feeling like I was almost had to lean to Alan Patrick, like it was a gun to my head because of how bad Michael Johnson is on the ground at times. Like trained so much, you've been fighting for like 30 years. You got a wrestling background and all this other stuff, but sometimes like he has the wrestling pedigree of somebody, a bum off the street, a crackhead off the street. Matter of fact, crackheads probably do better. But it's like the lowest you kind of see, like he just get taken down by anyone at times. And sometimes he's stuffing like world-class people's takedowns. I think he even stuffed Khabib takedown one time. He stuffed a lot of Benil Dariush's takedowns. So, and sometimes he's stuffing world-class people. And sometimes he's getting taken down by literal bums. Well, as a matter of fact, it's not really literal bums, but all I'm saying, like his grappling at a lot of times could leave a lot to be desired. And he shows up in big fights for whatever reason. And these fights like this, it be the fights that he loses. Like, so I cannot trust him in this matchup, but I'm going to lean him I feel like he should win. I feel like Alan Patrick, not a great wrestler. He's probably physically very strong. Definitely got some solid BJJ to an extent. Nothing super crazy good or nothing about it, but definitely credential. Definitely put the years in there. Definitely got the skills to back it up. His offensive takedowns, his striking has decreased like significantly over the years. I feel like he just don't even trust his striking no more. Then his takedowns, like he just literally diving like for ankles, like not like Khabib diving, but like actually with skills. Like he just flopping like a fish to your ankle, trying to drag the mat. This looks sloppy and disgusting. Been very inactive, very unprofessional as far as activity. I don't know what's going on in his life, but yeah, it's not. I feel like Alan Patrick does have a good shot just because of who Johnson is. But if Johnson comes in game and on point, he did show some improved takedown defense against Clay Guida. But Clay Guida, as we know, is relentless, and I definitely don't think Patrick could put on the same pace and definitely don't have the same level of wrestling. So again, those poor, ugly shots, lack of confidence in his striking. I feel like Johnson can sprawl on those takedowns and just mix them up, land a lot of combinations on them. But I feel like he still probably will get a couple of those ugly takedowns just to survive it in the round, or at least create a clinch type situation or a scramble type situation to survive the rounds. And Michael Johnson having not finished no one since like 2016 and Dustin Poirier, I'm not gonna lean finish. I'm gonna say decision. I'm like Johnson been able to stuff the ugly telegraph takedowns for the most part, or at least stuff them long enough that he won't be on bottom long enough to lose a round or get stopped. And then really the most fight the rounds be scored based on the activity and the offense that Johnson has on the feet. Just mix up Patrick, who has no striking defense, poor low level fight IQ, and beat him to a decision. So in this one, I got Michael Johnson via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the women's flyweight division, Viviane Araújo versus Andrea Lee. Or Andrea Lee. How's this one right here between Araújo versus Lee is? I feel like Araújo's a pretty solid dog here. Andrea Lee is looking good, but one of the people she beat is Antonina Shevchenko, who just about everybody's getting a win over her like it's a McDonald's Happy Meal toy at this point. I think every now and then her graph looks real good. Well, not real good, looks decent enough. Or she has that good finish. I'm talking about Antonina Shevchenko, but other than that, Andrea, I mean, she be letting everybody mix up on the ground. Antonina Shevchenko does, but so I can't really even say that Shevchenko wins all that good. I think she did have some good striking offense, which is probably the good thing out of that fight. With grappling, I don't really care about anybody destroying Antonina Shevchenko on the ground because they don't really amount to much at this point. And then not Valentina, but Anthony. That don't amount to much anything. A win over Antonina Shevchenko. Beat her sister, then we talking. Antonina, we ain't talking. And then her last fight she beat Cynthia Calvillo. So that was a pretty good performance of Cynthia Calvillo. Just neutralized her, then dissected her, then put her away. Good performance. But I guess Araújo, I feel like Araújo's tougher than Cynthia Calvillo. Maybe not as good of a wrestler, but I feel like she can mix the wrestling in there. I think she has a better boxing. I think she worked behind that jab. And Andrea Lee still doesn't really move her head that much. Still see this very competitive, very close fight. But I could trust Araújo to maybe work behind that jab a little bit more, find that head that's not moving Andrea Lee. Maybe catch some of the kicks and counter her, or catch some of the kicks and get some takedowns. But a very close fight, probably get like 2, 3 takedowns. Or I'm going to say under 3 takedowns. More than one, under 3. I mean, more than one, under 3 are like more than one, but 3 or less. So basically 3 or 2 takedowns. To say it and not make it so confusing. But 2 to 3 takedowns. Yeah, just say it like that. But a very competitive fight. But I still feel like there's opening stuff that we have not been answered yet, or that hasn't been answered from Andrea Lee as far as the ground. We've seen Roxanne Manafari being able to expose that. We've seen Lauren Murphy be able to expose her in that area. And we've seen a couple of other people be able to like take advantage of her in that area. So very competitive fight. But I feel like our tight matchup leaning to the fighter that could likely do more. I feel like I can't really see Andrea Lee getting so much success in her grappling in this fight. But hey, prove me wrong. She possibly can. Tight matchup. She definitely has a shot, but I like Araújo more to be able to have the success in the grappling and with the takedowns. So in the tight matchup, I'm going to lean Araújo. So in this fight, I have Viviane Araújo via decision. Now to our next fight. We have in our first fight on the main card in the flyweight division, Jake Hadley versus, I said Haley. Jake Hadley. So I'm going to say it again. Jake Hadley versus Alan Nascimento. So how's this fight right here between Hadley versus Nascimento is? I think this is a pretty good matchup. Nascimento is much better than his record says in the UFC. He might be with 0-2, 0-3 in the UFC, but actually we had very close fights with close fight with Willem Bekov, I think was one of them. He had a close fight with Paiva, who's an underrated fighter in his own right. So this guy's been out there put on some very impressive performances in losing efforts. But I'm gonna stick with the lessons. I guess the lesson I typically stick with here is favor the rest, or well, not the wrestler, favor the grappler who's more positional or who's better, at least the better positional grappler in a fight. I feel like Nascimento's more so a guy he's a little bit too comfortable off his back, a little bit too comfortable off his back. Wrestling ain't all that great, and I feel like he's more submission based at this level than positional based. I've never really seen him in the greatest top positions. So in MMA, they're gonna favor the top position guy a lot heavier, a lot, very heavily or very heavily. So unless the guy on bottom is doing so much or just getting that tap out, the guys on top is winning like 99% of the time in MMA. So I feel like Jake Hadley will be the better wrestler, the guy that's better able to get the top position. I think he should be able to neutralize a lot of Nascimento's game off his back. And I think he's the better striker. I feel like he has the harder shots. I feel like he has the better shot selection. I feel like he does more with less. I just feel like he's a cleaner boxer. Probably sting Nascimento with some good shots. Maybe have Nascimento shoot some poor shots and take advantage of them. And as well as like get Nascimento reacting to his punches or getting reacting to strikes and set up his own takedowns. Not to see him like this being a step or two ahead and really dictating the whole fight. Still competitive. I feel like Nascimento will have his moments. I think he'll just like bite down on his mouthpiece at times and let his hands go at sometimes. But ultimately, I feel like this gonna be Hadley's fight from start to finish. But Nascimento being game throughout. So in this fight, I got Jake Hadley via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, Frank Camacho versus Manuel Torres. So how I see from right here is Camacho's actually a pretty solid dog in here, and I was actually leaning to him at first, but I'm gonna lean with decent confidence to Torres. Not high, but average. I feel like he's owed some average confidence here, at least decently average confidence over Camacho. High, definitely question lock for sure not. We're going to Camacho. Camacho was a guy that, several years back, what was it, 2016? That's a long time ago now. 2017. I feel like he beat Drew Dober. It was a split decision for Drew Dober. He been in with some other good guys. Neil Magny on Ultimate Fighter. Been in there with Beneil Dariush, got schooled. Been in there with but yeah, he's been in there with a lot of solid guys. That's just that his last fight was a knockout loss to Justin James. That just kind of made people forget. He never was a super great fighter. Also been in with Jeff Neal. So he's been in with some solid guys. But people were like, look at that fight to Justin James, and they just completely write him off for the most part. But I'm saying he has a good shot, but I definitely got to lean Manuel Torres. And also saying he's been in there with these guys like they are good, and a lot of times he got destroyed by them. A lot of times he's put on some good efforts lose efforts against some of these good guys. Also, Li Jingliang. Again, another good name. He's been in with some solid names, and has held his own in a lot of these matchups. But a loss is a loss, no matter how you look at it. You could go in there, maybe tooth for nail. A loss is a loss. And you can't, hey, you get some fight of night bonuses potentially, but at the end of the day, a loss is a loss. So, and I don't like that pattern of losing. And we like 3-5, 2-5. I'm not really a fan of it. Man, Torres is a fresh face. I like the fresh face in there. Also, Camacho has not been active. He's been inactive, maybe getting his life straight, getting something straight. But I like Manuel Torres' height. I like his reach. I like his boxing. And I feel like Frank Camacho had to come through. It's not like Camacho, he got some big power. And at time, he has been a little bit of a tank, even though in his last fight, he looked much less than a tank, got starched by Justin James. But other than that, for the most part, in his other past fights, he was taking shots, walking people down, laughing, and then swinging back. And then, I think one fight, he actually started, being a little bit more technical. Then they fed him to Beneil Dariush, and that was just damn. Man started to show some improvements, and y'all we're going to feed you to Beneil Dariush. But yeah, other than that, yeah, with Camacho, not the best track record as far as winning. Then he's going to have to get in inside. And why I was trying to go with that, he doesn't really have the most stoppages. He don't really have that many stoppage wins. So it's not like he's the heaviest puncher. He's not. He probably got some punches. Definitely probably got some weight to him. Definitely probably hurt a lot. But he's not like a lights out puncher. He's going to be in there with a tall, lanky, volume striker like Manuel Torres, who fights long, does those long teep kicks, long front kicks, and likes to establish that range and likes to throw volume, and it's only getting better for every fight. So I don't feel like Camacho's gonna come back such a different man. I feel like his best chance is maybe try to make a grappling match. But even there, with his grappling, can he really effectively do that for 3 rounds? Or maybe at least 1.5 rounds to maybe win a round of striking, or maybe win the other half with striking or something? Can he do enough to get the winner? I can't see. I feel like he can have very limited success with his wrestling. But I just see it more so just tiring his own arms out, and Torres is going back, getting back on his feet, getting back on his bike, tagging him with all these shots, and just really just make him have to walk through a hellstorm just to get in and land his shots. And I see ultimately Manuel Torres using that height, using that reach, and tagging him Camacho. And I see Camacho kind of going back to his old way, kind of just trying to take some shots, probably get hurt. And then probably going back for desperation takedowns. And Torres just sprawling heavy, maybe taking his back for a little bit, and then like end the round on top. But in his a round, not the whole fight going to play like that, but like different parts of it. That's probably like a second round type of situation. But anyway, I just feel like can't trust Camacho's track record as far as winning. Torres is a young guy, long, and does volume. And Camacho just like a guy that is not a known finisher. Definitely tough, definitely game, definitely much skilled, and people give him credit. But I don't feel like it's not something in him I see enough to get a win. Maybe like try to eke out a very close decision, but nothing solid where I could say, oh, he could eke out a solid decision, or I could see him definitely getting a knockout stoppage or a submission stoppage. I can't see nothing solid from him. But I definitely see Manuel Torres potentially catching him. I even see him like mixing that hook in, like sneaking like a little sneaky little hook in there that could potentially catch Camacho. As he obviously didn't have no answer from Justin James, but I'm pretty sure he has made changes and improvements to his defense, because that was what his last time in the cage was his loss. But anyway, I see clear paths to victory for Manuel Torres. So in this fight, I got Manuel Torres via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, Katlyn Chookagian versus Amanda Ribas. So in this fight, this really should be a high, maybe even a lot confidence pick for Katlyn Chookagian, but I'm probably going to say like an average, or probably about an average confidence for Katlyn Chookagian here versus Amanda Ribas. And why I felt that is because Amanda Ribas, you know what? I'm making people name at this point. I said Ribas. But yeah, Amanda Ribas. Yeah, you don't know how going up in weight is going to affect her. Like, is she going to be gain nothing? Is she going to come up and lose her advantages? Or is she going to come up, she's going to be stronger? Or is she going to come up and not have to cut weight, so she's going to have more technical strike and be able to work on things? Is the speed going to be such a good thing for her? I don't know how it's going to affect her. But ultimately, we do know that Katlyn Chookagian is a solid fighter. She hasn't really been submitted or stopped by anyone. I think it was, as far as the UFC, probably one stoppage loss, and that was to Valentina Shevchenko. Oh, she got two losses. She lost to Jessica Andrade, and she lost to the champion, Valentina Shevchenko. So two killers, like two world champions. And Amanda Ribas is far from that. And would get sparked by either woman. Light work for either woman. Like Jessica Andrade will slam her on the head, knock her out on the feet, flying kick her, anything she want to do, beat her by any way she want to beat her. Same with Valentina Shevchenko. So can't really say, oh, that's such a bad thing going there with Amanda Ribas, because Amanda Ribas is definitely not none of those women. But ultimately, I feel like Ribas not the most technical striker, definitely chinny. I don't know if that's going to help her by going up a weight, and maybe she got a little bit more water in her head and her brain, and she could take some shots better. Striking not much of anything. Solid grappling, but Katlyn Chookagian's grappling has been improving a lot. Is the better volume striker, is the better, more technical striker, boxer, kickboxer than Amanda Ribas. And I feel like she can neutralize her submission, her takedowns for the most part, which will neutralize her grappling. So I see it as a fight where maybe Ribas might get one takedown briefly, maybe have one little moment, but I can't trust her to do that for 2 rounds. I can see maybe 1 round doing that for a little bit, but ultimately I see Katlyn Chookagian, figuring her out, then just getting right, start, getting in her groove, start putting her like at the end of her shots, end of her kicks, like hitting her punches, the end of her kicks, throwing up volume, and Ribas just starting to fade to the combinations, to the pace, to the fakes, to the feints from Chookagian, and really the work rate of Chookagian just being too much for Ribas. And once Ribas, like I said, not being able to get into her comfort zone, Chookagian just going to really just be in the driver's seat from that point on. And Ribas probably going there trying to make a fight out of something, but really to throw her technique out the window, because she was clearly outmatched in that department, just try to make it a fight. And that's just going to further this walk her right into more punches, more kicks, and just have her get her face bust up, her nose busted up, her face rearranged a little bit to a decision. And Chookagian, like I said, not really a finisher. All her fights, victories have been decisions. And I feel like really the safest bet in this one is probably decision. I don't see Ribas being all that great a finish. Who has she ever tapped out? No, like she hasn't really tapped no one out except like Paige Van Zandt and maybe some other person. I think she tapped out Randa Marcos, but don't quote me on that. She definitely tapped out Paige Van Zandt. So neither are particularly great finishers. Ribas' chin is a questionable factor, but safest bet right here is definitely decision. So in this fight, I got Katlyn Chookagian via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the bantamweight division, Louis Smolka versus Davy Grant. And how I see this fight right here between Smolka versus Grant is, I don't know, like Smolka look all right at the weigh-ins, but weigh-ins really don't mean much a lot of time. Like, yeah, you look good at weigh-ins. Yes, you 6'9", but you still chinny. Like, I don't know, Stephen Shu was like 6'11" every single weigh-in. He was 6'11" every single weigh-in, but that never helped him with much anything when it really mattered. Except Stevie Miocic one time, and yeah, that's about it. So No matter how you look at it, weight don't really mean much. And from what I see from Louis Smolka most time, like just about every single time, he's probably one of the weakest fighters pound for pound in MMA. Not known for his physical strength. I feel like David Grant can muscle him around. Grappling definitely something to be concerned about. But I feel like David Grant can control position. I think David Grant should be able to touch his chin, very chinny, very soft, very weak. But like technical enough striking at times. Defense sometimes leaves a little bit to be desired. Power leaves a lot to be desired. Again, physical strength, wrestling leaves a lot to be desired. And I feel like David Grant can now position him, control, like I said, be able to stuff takedowns, be able to rip him, be able to force him onto his back. And like I said, probably take advantage of the grappling situation, but like, choose where to grapple. So it's not like an area where Smoke can necessarily get off so much. Probably like maybe like sit in his guard a little bit or maybe get to like a half guard position and just put him in positions where Smoker can't really be as active as he needs to be. Like, so this neutralizes grappling. On his feet, just pressure him, mixing combinations, keep him on the back foot, and keep slamming heavy kicks in his body, kicking out his thin legs, and not allow him to really plant and box. And Louis Smoker's pretty flat-footed a lot of times as well. So flat-footed, not very physically strong. Like I said, and again, it's not a bodybuilder competition. Now I would say that against bodybuilders as well. Like, oh, this guy big and he's gonna get exhausted, or this guy weak and he could be muscle around. So it plays both ways. I'm not saying it's a bodybuilding competition, but David Grant's not a bodybuilder either. But he definitely packs more strength. Definitely has fared better against better competition, and I feel like he can control the pace of this fight. And I feel like he can neutralize Smoker in his best area, where I feel like Smoker hasn't really shown the ability to neutralize Grant in his best area. So I just see really this Grant is being too much, too strong, and too much of a force for Smoko out here, and I see him put him away in the second round. So in this fight, I got Davy Grant via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in our co-main event in the light heavyweight division, Ryan Spann versus Iwan Kudilaba. And how I see this fight right here between Spann versus Kudilaba is I just really can't trust Spann. That's just flat out what his good. Like Spann big, he like what 6'6", 6'5", whatever case may be, big boy, he got some big power. Fight IQ is in the trash. Wrestling definitely got a strength for him, definitely got a little bit of technique, but technique definitely needs a lot to be desired. Kudilaba is definitely the more technical wrestler by a lot. Like I was saying, Spann does have a little bit of decent shot to maybe get like a 1 or 2 takedowns off in there, maybe stuff a couple shots, enough that maybe he can land some big shots. But I feel like, yes, he got that big punch, but I'm gonna trust what has the most chance to get a win, or who has the more chance, like probability, who does probability favor? Spann, when you look at him, you're really favoring that big shot, or you maybe favoring, oh, he's gonna have an all night. That's what you're favoring. But you favoring like who has more all nights, who can you trust, like probability wise to win, and not just like saying, oh, this is this and that, like you're trying to reach. It's Kudilaba. Without the reaching, it's Kudilaba. Kudilaba has been stopped a couple times. Spann has been stopped a couple times, etc., etc. But Kudilaba has maybe take big shots in rally, but I feel like Spann, and against good competition, or at least staying there with good competition, take good shots and be able to push a pace. Where Spann, when you look at his whole UFC career, this guy never been a pace pusher, never been a guy that can really fight at a high pace. I think the most significant strikes he ever landed in a fight was like 60. You know, everyone says, well, that's a lot of significant strikes, 60. But in reality, that's a very low amount of significant strikes for your most ever in the UFC. And he probably had about 10 fights in the UFC, and his most ever significant strikes landed with like 60. So very low, very, very low. Average I'd be like 20, 30 or something. So not the biggest output. Really relying on a finish. That's what he's relying on. Whereas Kudilaba could get a stoppage, submission win, or a finish. Submission win kind of a stretch, but not too far-fetched. Knockout is very likely. Decision is very likely. I feel like decision is the most likely. Well, not most likely. Finish is the most likely for Kudilaba, but decision not that far behind because Spann is not Khalil Roundtree. He's not going to, once you take him down, he's going to have nothing. Spann is a grappler before he's a striker. That's why you might look at him, oh, he's big, he's this, he's that. His striking is far from world class. He's a grappler first, a striker second. But it might look the other way around. So take him down. I feel like Spann can at least hold his own and make it a competitive fight, even if he's not really doing the most output. The threat of his power and his size and his mask, and maybe give Kudilaba some respect and give a second look. And then Kudilaba getting takedowns and landing ground pound, but again, not to just able to just have free reign to just destroy him on the ground. But I definitely think Kudilaba could just going to go out there, pressure him, land big shots, touch that soft chin of his, have him wobble, maybe try and clinch, maybe trying to muscle takedown, or maybe trying to hold on for dear life at times. But early on, Spann would definitely be dangerous. I think he could be a stuff some Kudilaba's takedown, maybe even get a takedown in there early. But I feel like his best chances early, he'll look good early. But really after that first round, or even within that first round, I started to see him fade. And then the second, third, Kudilaba just constantly coming at him with pressure. Started to get those takedowns easier. Started landing on him easier, almost at will. and he get those takedowns and this span is almost on the defensive, probably looking for one or two big shots at a time, or a big kick, or a big moment, or an ugly shot takedown, poorly shot takedown. And Kulaba just getting stronger as the fight goes on, the span wearing out. Like, Span's best shot is that first round, I feel. And I feel like Kulaba's going to just drown him and then put him away in that third round. So in this fight, I got Iwan Kulaba via third round TKO. Now to our main event, we have in the light heavyweight division, Jan Blachowicz versus Alexander Rakic. And how I see one right here is I think it's a pretty good fight right here, to be honest. A very good fight. But I think it's not gonna be that exciting in my opinion if I had to really guesstimate or bet or whatever case it's gonna be a good fight. Exciting fight. I think it's gonna be a tactical full fight. Rakic, you can clearly see on his current streak right now, has been fighting very, not tentative, but he's been fighting in the sense of like point type fighting, like management. He's just been fighting safe, fighting smart, low output, but doing what he needs to do to get win. Like he's trying to play chess out there. He's not trying to go out there and even when he has people hurt, he's not really going for the kill. He's not really expending himself. And I understand why he's not doing that. But win's a win, and it's like working for him. And I felt like against Blachowicz, he's gonna be able to use his youth, his height, his size, his technique. I feel like he's a more technical striker. And I feel like, his offensive wrestling hasn't been looking all that great, like stat wise. I feel like he's the better wrestler offensively and defensively, especially given that size, that strength, and that explosiveness, that youth, that athleticism. He's a better wrestler. Grappling is up for the debate, but I feel like Rakic can put him in positions where that grappling really won't be that big a factor. My biggest issue with Rakic, I feel like that lack of activity can cause maybe Blachowicz to eke by on a very close decision where Rakic thinks he has a fight. Like he beats Anthony Smith, but like clearly beat Anthony Smith. Beat Thiago Santos, but clearly, there was opportunity for the judges to take that one from him. It was so close and so lack of activity. But it could be a case like that. It didn't happen, but now you're going to fight. You're trying to win and, be limited with your output and trying to point fight and try and be smart and try and be this and try to be limited. And then the judges eke by and say, oh, I feel like Blachowicz wanted it more. He did a little bit more and he won the fight. You might have landed the cleaner, flusher shot, the prettier shots. You were the more technical fighter, landed the harder shots. But Blachowicz threw like two more kicks or was the one pressuring at some point in the fight for like a minute at this time in a crucial round. And then the judges to see whatever reason they leaned it to him. So that's a dangerous game to play, especially for a guy that's not the champ, a guy that's not established. He's trying to get to be established, but you're not a champion, you're not a defending champion, you're not a former champion. You're a guy who's still trying to get there. So you got to go out there and impress people. But he's saying he's going to do it. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I like his youth. I like his size, and I feel like Blachowicz in there with yet another heavyweight. He's not in there with no middleweight, soaking wet 190 pound Adesanya. He's in there with a big young heavyweight, big young light heavyweight, not heavyweight. He probably could make heavyweight. He's a big young light heavyweight who's very technical, very long, and will look to really stifle him and beat him everywhere. But again, I feel like Blachowicz will have put on a good fight against him. But ultimately, I feel like Rakic's skill and size and youth and athleticism will be a little bit too much for Blachowicz. And Blachowicz going to be really looking for answer a lot in this fight. I feel like he might get touched up a little bit at points in this fight, but I don't really see Rakic going through enough to really get the finish. I don't really see him putting the dagger on him. And I see him like maybe hurt him at times, but not acting on it. Or if Blachowicz showing a little bit of life in him once he gets hurt, I just feel like Rakic is going to step off the gas and just go back to point fighting. Probably land a couple good counters and hurt Blachowicz at times. Maybe land a good couple takedowns in there and kind of ride a position for a little bit of rounds. And like I said, just winning the rounds, I guess, almost as safe as possible. Like takedowns, counters, fighting long, stand at distance, and just really making Blachowicz have the fight to get to him and then taking advantage of Blachowicz as he comes in on the inside with counters, with takedowns, or clinching him up and put him against the cage and, like I said, stalling him out. So, in this fight, I got Alexander Rakic via decision. And that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Blachowicz versus Rakic. And as always, thanks for watching.